America cannot possibly win a war against Iran. Hatred of Donald Trump that drives the Second American Civil War, okay? All right, so let's see how this will play out. Okay, so what will start this Civil War is in November, Trump becomes president, okay? So Trump becomes president. Once he becomes president is, how does he stay in office for the rest of his life, okay? And the reason why is, the moment he leaves office, he's going to be sued. He's going to be put in jail. He's going to be attacked by the elites, okay? So the first thing he needs to figure out, the only thing that he actually cares about is, how do I stay in office for the rest of my life? Now, there's a trick he can use to stay in office for the rest of his life, okay? Because the Constitution says that you can only serve 2 terms as president. But there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't serve as vice president for as long as you want. Do you understand? So what Trump can do in 2028 is run for president, and he becomes the vice president. But everyone will know that he'll still be the president. You understand? Does that make sense to you guys? That's a trick he can use in 2028, okay? Because I guarantee you, the moment he steps into the White House, he's like, okay, how do I stay in here forever? Because it's either the White House or the jailhouse for me, okay? So he's going to think about how to stay in office. And the easiest thing he can do is have his son, Don Jr., run as president. He's run as vice president, okay? But everyone will know that he's still the president. Does that make sense? That if Trump does this, then this will create a constitutional crisis in the country. The left go insane, okay? You're talking about like riots on the streets, civil conflict. Maybe New York City and Boston will be like, we're leaving the union if Trump becomes president again, okay? You have these insurgencies all around America to rebel against the Trump regime. So this is something that Trump can do in 2028, okay? Another question then is, what can he do to ensure that he wins in 2028? And the easiest answer is, over the next 2-3 years, start a war with Iran. The reason why this is important is that by starting a war with Iran, he wins over the deep state, right? He wins over the Israel lobby. He wins over the military-industrial complex. He wins over a lot of the elite on his side. Now, we discussed that America cannot possibly win a war against Iran. This war can only drag on, right? Now, let me ask you this question. Why would this be good for Trump? If in 2028, okay, he's running for vice president, his son is running for president, and the war in Iran is dragging on, or it seems the United States is going to lose this war, why would this be good for Trump in 2028? The entire society, the entire left is mobilized to get rid of Trump, right? Because they want this war in Iran to stop. So why would this war be good for Trump in 2028? But there's going to be a group of people who are doing anything they can to ensure that this war continues. And who are they? Within America. There's a group of people who are the most pro-empire of everyone else. And they fight a war, they want to win the war, and they'll do anything they can to ensure that this war is won. And who are they? Which part of the military? It's special forces. Okay? In 2028, if there's a war in Iran and Trump is running again to maintain the war, I guarantee you, these guys and other deep state members will come in and commit acts of terrorism, acts of political assassination to ensure that Trump wins. Okay? You'll also have election meddling, election interference. Okay? They're going to cheat on behalf of Trump. But if that's the case, okay, if 2028 is an extremely contested election, then we can imagine at that point the entire Civil War blows up. Okay? New York City declares independence. Boston declares independence. California declares independence. You have all these wars breaking out across America. The United States is still fighting this pointless war in Iran. Okay? So I think that's what's going to happen. So Jack's question is like, who will the U.S. military support? Okay. So the U.S. military is very complicated because you know it's divided into a lot of different departments. Okay. So the military is not one beast. It's like many, many different beasts. Second problem is how the leadership of the military is actually extremely democratic. But the base, the soldiers, are extremely Republican, okay? So you have this ideological mismatch between the leadership, the generals, and the soldiers. So it's most likely that given these differences, the military does not intervene in the Civil War, okay? But there is a group in the military who has the leeway, the flexibility, and the will to intervene in this war, and it's special forces, right? Because they're not controlled by bureaucracy. Does that make sense? So the question then is, who will special forces support? And the answer is that different special force units will support different factions, okay? That's why the Civil War can be extremely violent, right? Because Americans will have access to guns, but these guys have access to jets and bombs and tanks, okay? Does that make sense? Plus, again, each one of these guys can be a general in a war, okay? Special forces is extremely powerful, okay? Does that answer your question, Jack? Okay, any more questions? Okay. So Celine asked a great question, okay? And this is actually the most fundamental question. It is really impossible for the left to imagine that Donald Trump will attack Iran because Trump is seen as extremely anti-war.